You're listening to Season 3 of the Hypotheticals podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Adriano, and this episode is sponsored by Steal Me and Filch's Isolated Abandoned Treasure Chests. Super valuable stuff left lying right out in the open where anyone could take it, just for you.
Adriano, I've been wondering, how would our world be different if the logic and physics of video games applied in real life?
That is a great question, Andy. I have to say my first thought is that cosmetics would be disproportionately expensive. Which isn't to say that, like some designer clothes and posh makeup and stuff aren't already very expensive, but I feel like we definitely see a greater tilting of the economy in that direction. That's off the dome.
Yeah, everyone would just get loads of random crap all the time because you couldn't buy just like the thing you wanted. You'd have to buy a loot box and hope that you had the right shade of makeup or whatever in there.
Yeah, there would be a lot of that, actually. Yeah, God, loot boxes in real life. I mean, there's already an element of that, but I guess they tend to be for games. I guess there's some... You get blind auctions and things, don't you? Like, this eccentric billionaire died and left these 16 shipping containers full of unknown miscellaneous goods. And what do we start the bidding at? $10,000.
Yeah, but yeah, not normally for, like, clothes shopping, which is one of the main things that seem to be in these loot boxes is, like, hats and stuff.
Yeah, you know what? Because the thing is, whatever's in the box is guaranteed to at least fit you, right? Which is one of the major surprises of clothes shopping. Like my fiance is currently engaged in, like when you have like
to you.
She is. It's so convenient. I'm engaged to her as well. Like what an arrangement. If only there was a name for it. Anyway, she's. You know those processes of like wardrobe renewal where like you got a bunch of stuff doesn't fit, you don't like, you just find you don't wear it, and so you buy new stuff, right?
Yeah, you do like a Marie Kondo, and does it bring you joy? And if not, you toss it out the window.
Exactly. Yeah, just burn it in the street. And the thing is, it's COVID land, obviously. And she's not doing it in shops, she's doing it online, which on the one hand is great and very addictive, and she's managed to get like incredible bargains on eBay. I'm very envious because the kind of clothes I want to buy, they still don't sell them as cheap as I'd like on eBay. Waistcoats are very expensive, Andy. It's ridiculous. But you don't know what you're going to get, and more importantly, if it's going to fit until it arrives. So that's a lot of the like surprise element of online shopping until they get super good and can like 3D map it onto like a scanned avatar of your body, which, give them a few years, maybe. But in the meantime, that makes the whole loot box thing for clothes difficult IRL. But if they all were going to fit you, hell, I'd do it. I'd wear whatever miscellany came out of those things.
Whatever like weird childish logos were scrawled over it, or like you just end up wearing loads of goggles everywhere and like, I don't know, baseball caps and flaming swords, which you don't really wear, but...
You're reminding me that actually I say I'd be on board with it, but playing Cyberpunk and just discovering that I'm not a huge fan of the Cyberpunk aesthetic, Andy. I'm a Cyberpunk snob. There's some things I really like and a lot of things that I don't. And the stats on the clothes in that game make no sense. Like you can have a hyper armored like mini skirt, but then like these like super thick trousers will have like much less armor. And and if you want the best armor, you've got to wear just whatever you find that has a good armor value, even if it looks terrible. And it's been a constant source of strife.
Well, to shift it away from loot boxes, obviously one of the main things is health in a video game. And in a lot of video games, it's very much in the real world, medicine has a variety of ailments and a variety of things that can go wrong, from a broken leg to... Yeah, too many. It's too hard to learn them all. Why do doctors get paid so much? Oh yeah, all of that. Well, they wouldn't get paid so much in this universe because you've got one thing wrong with you, and it's that you don't have enough health. And all you need to do is restore some health or get some more added on, and you'll be fine.
It's true. Like a level 1 priest knows some form of weak healing magic, Like day 1, you arrive at priest school, It's like, hey, Sonny, what do you want to be? I want to be a priest. Ding. And like suddenly you can like cure the lame. I mean, in this world, that is reserved for, like literally God's son, one guy.
Jesus was a level 1 priest, it turns out.
Apparently so. Or, like a handful of faith healers and gurus and what have you, allegedly. But yeah, in video game land, everybody gets healing magic, and it's great. And even if you don't, I mean, health packs, how expensive are they going to be to produce? You find them lying around in like dystopian post-apocalyptic streets, in dumpsters.
Yeah, just lying around everywhere. It's like, oh, what's this? A thing which will make me instantly healthier? I don't need that. Toss it. It's fine.
Elixir of immortality? Nah, get out of here. It's probably stale.
I'll keep these cans and bits of string on my body instead for when you loot me.
That's exactly right. Or Cyberpunk again, there's just decks of cards all over the place, just like pristine. And yeah, the omnipresent like health kits, obviously. It's just ashtrays, decks of cards. There's not very many trash items, so by God, you accumulate a lot of decks of cards.
Yeah. But also, you know, with health, often it's the fact you may not have a priest. It may just be that you eat stuff and you become healthier. So
yes.
If this logic was applying, rather than overeating being bad for you and, you know, you put on weight and it puts you at various risk factors, the more you eat, the healthier you're going to be with no downsides. Like, just hoover it all up and you're going to be fine.
I never considered that. Very few games model like obesity. I think The Sims does a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the only one. There's none which are like, you know, yeah, like in Skyrim where you eat 15 wheels of cheese because you're fighting a dragon and your health is low.
Yeah. What's the meme? Isn't there a comic? Is that what you're referencing?
I think I am, yeah, but it's probably one I heard from you. So
it's possible. It's so good. Maybe I've even mentioned it before in this program, but it's great. It's like some villager talking to someone else, like, I saw the Dragonborn once, like my son. It was incredible. Tell me more. Was he heroic? I stopped in the middle of a battle and ate 15 wheels of cheese. Yeah.
In milliseconds. Yeah, but, you know, nothing happens in Skyrim in that. It's just like, and your broken leg is fixed. Or, you know, suddenly all those arrows sticking out of you don't seem so bad after all.
Yeah, you're fine. Even in The Sims where, like, getting fat is a real thing, it's purely cosmetic, I believe. There's no health risk factors associated with it. You're just fine.
Yeah. Yeah, completely fine. So yeah, that would be good. Obesity as a problem, just gone. It's fine. Everyone can be however they want.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, you just toggle those things in the character creator. Or, you know, like if it's the kind of game that's stingy and won't let you change your character midway, then like you find like the one guy you have to talk to rename your
yes.
Pokemon, or, you know, there's the special rare item. Or
yeah,
you
there's always a guy who can just completely rearrange your face and body. It's like,
yeah.
I know that, you know, we're in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, but there's still an amazingly good plastic surgeon.
Priorities, yeah, obviously. You give that guy enough bottle caps, he'll get it done. Actually, thinking about it, a lot of health stuff would come with very few consequences because, okay, some games there's like, I'm playing a lot of Don't Starve at the moment, and there's food that will make you healthy, and then there's food that you eat because otherwise you'll starve, but it like decreases your health, like if you eat monster meat too much or whatever. But for the most part, real life is fraught with way more poisons and health effects, and I mean, like, take drugs, right? If I want to carry more stuff in a video game, I just chug adrenaline or steroids or protein powder or whatever it's got, and my carrying capacity just goes ding, ding, ding for 30 minutes. No side effects whatsoever.
Yeah. Or some video games will have slight side effects. It'll be like, you're not as good at talking to people while you're carrying that stuff. But it's never like,
that's true.
You have a 1% risk of a heart attack because you've taken 20 doses of cocaine to get you through this speed challenge.
Yeah, there's not a lot of like cancers in video games. There's not a lot of addiction. Like, you play Left 4 Dead, you pop a lot of pain pills.
Yeah, it depends what kind of game you're in, I guess. But yeah,
That's
Left
true.
4 Dead certainly is like, yeah, in that you're not healed, you just kind of cope with the pain.
Yeah.
Through drugs.
Which, I guess, to be fair, every Left 4 Dead level, and I mean, we have to recognise, really, this is entirely genre dependent.
Yes, yeah.
Right? Like, the health thing is common to shooters and RPGs. Okay, the thing of a health bar, I guess, is cross-genre. You've either got lives or a health bar. If you're mad lucky, maybe you just have one of those stamina recharge things where, like, you get shot a bit and then you just huddle up behind a boulder and breathe deeply for a few seconds. And then...
Well, that's the thing. It's like, in this world, you can get shot as many times. You can be shot thousands of times and never go to a doctor, as long as you leave at least 30 seconds between getting shot each time. Then you're fine.
Yeah, or like if you have enough baked beans on hand or whatever, Like, in a way, it makes sense. Eventually, like, with enough bullets in your body, new ones are just going to ping off.
Yeah. That's how they made Wolverine, isn't it?
It's just shot the hell out of him. It would have been easier. I feel like that tank they had him in with the injector, like that's a lot of unnecessary tech. They've already got guns. The guy heals.
God. Oh,
brutal.
Well, I was thinking though, in terms of more, like generic video game stuff, quite often they'll match you in terms of your level. So obviously, on a basic level, you start off and the levels are really easy, and then it gets harder as it goes on. But some games like RPGs also have it where as you level up and gain skills, they match the level of the enemy so that it's always challenging and never like that you come across someone who just instantly kills you or whatever. So in this scenario, as your life is going on, you're always sort of perfectly matched in how difficult it is. But as your life goes on, it does also get harder and harder. So you need to the more that you improve on yourself, the more that you become a healthier and more self-fulfilled being, the harder your life gets to try and grind you down. So I don't know an example of this, but maybe that's kind of how life works for some people as well. But I don't know.
I reckon, honestly, I crave that. I think life is arranged like that for very few people, and the vast majority of us, it's a lot messier. And I think that's why games are so appealing, right? Like an RPG, like an MMORPG, some other types of games too. Like it's a job sometimes, you know? You got to get those wolf pelts or whatever. Like, you know, you're grinding. But it's compelling because you get like the right reward of effort to... Sorry, the right ratio of effort to reward is what I meant. So, you know, you play a bit and then it's like, I'm bored of this thing, but that's when they introduce the new harder enemies or whatever, or now you've unlocked crafting or whatever. I want my life to be like that. I feel like high school was a grind.
Yeah, that's probably the peak of hardship, I would say.
Yeah, not for everyone. Some people thrive in high school, and the lucky few. But, and some people are born, with like tons of generational wealth, and they get like everything's nice and easy until they have a crisis at some point and decide they need to, like who knows? Some people have it backwards, some people have it forwards, lots of confusion. Video games neatly arranged. I crave that gentle progression.
And predictability.
Yes.
You can tell where it's going. Yeah. And also, if you're in a video game world, for various challenges in your life, you have infinite goes. Like, maybe not if we're following like the Dark Souls thing where it's just like, you die. But for most video games, you can just save before a hard bit, and you can just keep going at it until you get it right. So it could be frustrating. I was thinking, because obviously this sounds great on paper, but it depends if the challenges are things that you decide to do, or whether, like in a video game, it is set for you. So you may not actually want to overcome the challenge. For example, if you kept failing your wedding day because you didn't actually want to get married, but the story is dictating that this is your wedding day, and to pass the level, you have to get married. So you keep running off with the maid of honor, or you fall down a well so that you can't go, or you get really drunk the night before and try to miss it completely. But every time it just resets you back. It's like, nope, you're getting married today, and you failed. It just comes up with a big, you failed banner, and then you wake up in your with like some champagne and orange juice next to you, ready to go.
That honestly sounds like the plot of a promising romantic comedy. And it's a little bit unwoke that it's about, and I'm assuming a guy here, maybe you were intending a girl or a non-binary chap, I don't know, but like it's a little unwoke that like, I don't want to be tied to the old ball and chain. That's a little old-fashioned, but it's kind of the plot of Groundhog Day, right?
Kind of, yeah, except he's like trying to, Groundhog Day's a weird one because it's quite creepy. He's quite an odd guy, and like he kind of becomes a better person by the end, but originally he's quite messed up.
He is, and the weird thing is that it kind of just rewards him succeeding in sleeping with a specific person. Like that's when he fixes it. Spoilers, I guess. But I guess the implication is that he becomes a better person through discovering like genuine love that isn't just narcissism. So I like the idea of the game deciding like, no, you're getting married today to this person. Like life just says, this is your life script. You get to do as many times as you like, fail as much as you want, but it's going to make you do this. I reckon if it didn't have that requirement, then you'd have all sorts of situations where people were like, I have decided this is the year I get married, whatever. Like, this is the year I do the thing, and it's something that you're not ready for, or that isn't going to bring you happiness, or that you're conflicted for. And we discover all kinds of interesting new psychological disorders that have to do with like compulsively looping certain days, right? Like until you get them perfect. Like, oh, I can't bear the fact that my daughter's turned 16, so I keep reliving her last day as a 15-year-old over and over and over.
Right.
You got to get therapy to help you move past these points in your life.
Yeah. If
And therapy, no, I'm sorry, therapy would be super hard because
you got to pass therapy every session.
Because it's the first session over and over and over. It's like in Groundhog Day when he goes to the piano lesson. It's the first time she's seen him every single time, but he's just slightly better every day. But it would be like that with a therapist, so there's no pre-existing relationship. You have to go introduce yourself and see how far you can get in one day, and then come back.
Oh god, your life would be so long, but not in a fun way. Because I think someone did the calculation on how long Bill Murray was in Groundhog Day, like how long it took him to learn to play the piano, learn to ice sculpt, learn to do all of the stuff he did so that he learned everyone's names, and it was like 80 years that he was in Groundhog Day. So he's actually like 120-year-old man by the end of that film.
Yeah, scary stuff.
But yeah, you do that times every day of your life. So.
Well, the important ones, certainly. Yeah, I think it'd be really difficult not to. There's another movie, right? About Time, is it?
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, and he loops back on like important days, like first day he meets his girlfriend and stuff. I seem to recall.
Yeah, trying to fix stuff so that it is fixed in the future. Makes no sense as a time travel film, but it is a good film.
They mostly don't. You got to make allowances for time travel. I figure they're either super clever or they're not. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of middle ground. It's either like, look, just run with it, buddy. Or it's like, I actually did all the thinking and I'm a lot smarter than you. There's two types of time travel writer, I think.
Well, we spoke about The Sims earlier, and I just like to focus a little bit in on The Sims, because there's a lot of scenarios in there that end up, which just wouldn't necessarily be very fun. So, for example, if somebody removes a ladder from a swimming pool, you're
classic.
Dead.
Yes.
You're dead. So, there's no way out. Sorry, this is just your death now. Also, like, random life events just sort of happen to you. Like, again, it's the lack of free will thing. It's like you just seem to switch careers and personality types seemingly on a whim. Like, your house is building and decorating itself around you without you having to do anything. And even if you like hate it. Like, it literally, like, stuff will pop up and the sim will wander over and be like, huh, new stuff, that's weird. and like, they'll either like it or hate it. Yeah, like, to get dressed, you just spin around really fast.
Convenient.
Which would save time. But like, yeah, like, the whole time scale is distorted. Like, you can become best friends with someone within one conversation. And granted, like, The Sims is supposed to, it's supposed to be a condensed version of real life, but still, it's like you talk to someone once and they're like, hey, I'm gonna propose to you or something. Yes. And then like and also if you practice guitar or like whatever the skills on The Sims are, like cooking or whatever, for a week straight, you just like become a virtuoso. And then you never have to practice again. Like if this was the case, like you just put in 50 hours of piano, and then for the rest of your life, you never have to practice. You're just brilliant at piano forever.
Yep, it's true. Sims is a great one for like a life completionist. And again, Fedra plays Sims this way. She's very keen. Like, some people just torture their Sims. She's keen on like succeeding with their life, like they've got to achieve all their ambitions. She's got to get them like right the way to the top of the career and then start a new career and get right to the top of that. It's all about that success train.
But then presumably whenever you like moved house, because like whenever someone moves in Sims, they always have no skills. They're like a blank canvas. They don't appear to have a previous life. They don't have connections to anyone else.
Yeah, like, they're not a virtuoso of anything at all.
They don't seem to have parents or anything. So you lose all your skills and all of your friends when you move house, and essentially your memory is just wiped, and you show up to some random place, which is often just an empty plot of land. And just sort of have to start.
Well, the thing is, because that sort of thing, if you're thinking of it in terms of being the character within the game, then it gets real creepy for a lot of games really fast. Because, like, take your survival horror genre, right? You die and then you pop into existence like naked and scared in the woods. and then that just keeps happening to you.
Yeah.
There's
it's
there's
like
problems.
there's a Black Mirror episode which is kind of like that.
Is there?
Yeah, it's not fun.
I don't think I've seen it. I thought I'd seen them all.
The one with the forest and she's running away from all the people with chainsaws and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, it's spooky stuff. Black Mirror, recommended for anyone who hasn't seen it. It's good stuff.
Maybe not right at the moment. It's probably not the light-hearted stuff that people need.
Okay, it depends whether you crave light-hearted or not. Yeah, fair enough.
It's true.
I've completely lost what I was talking about. Sims and timescales. I love the timescale thing. I remember I played a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon, and it's the thing where like one day, like for an individual character, is huge in the sense that it's really zoomed in one way and zoomed out another way. I don't know how to talk about it. Like it takes weeks for someone to queue for a roller coaster. You know what I mean? Because like the months are ticking by in the corner so that you can have seasons and so that your 3-year objectives can happen. But like someone enters your park and they walk from one end to the other and it's been like 4 months.
Yeah.
They just live here.
It's the ultimate experience.
Yeah, and they never sleep. In a lot of games, you never sleep.
Yeah, and like your workforce would just always work. Like, what's my shift this year? Oh, you're on for 6 months and then off for 6 months.
Or you or you pop into existence to construct buildings as needed and then disappear. Like depending how sophisticated your RTS is. It used to drive me nuts. Actually, the first time I played Tropico, I was used to games like Age of Empires style of thing where you build a building and it just builds, like it takes a few seconds, whatever, but it just, if you have the resources, it goes. And then Tropico, like your dudes like go back home and then have to like travel back to the workplace and like, oh, today they're tired or hungry or whatever, so they go shopping instead. And I'm like, what is happening? Like I have to manage these people. No, go over there. I clicked you. It didn't work. So
I don't want real life in my video games.
God no. So what we've learned is that a lot of it would be frustrating for God as well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it could well be that we are just in The Sims, but for God. Like he's probably got pretty good graphics. He's got a good what's it? A graphics card. I was like, what's the card for graphics called? I'm not sure.
Well, the fun part is we wouldn't necessarily be able to tell, because what I want to talk about was that in games, typically, you can tell it's a game because of its limitations, right? Like the physics engine will only go so far. Like I love in the Source engine used for Team Fortress 2, amongst others, one of my favorite games. Like you can stand on the tiniest ledge. That it doesn't do the thing where you'll like slide off a surface. If there is any horizontal component to it whatsoever, you can stand your whole body on there, feet firmly perched on thin air. And it's stuff like that, right? Like in Halo, the first one, people made a sport out of warthog launching.
Yes.
Did you ever do this?
I think so. Was it where you blew up a warthog?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it just absolutely launched you across the map.
It was so good because the warthog, which for anyone who hasn't played Halo is like a Jeep, was indestructible because this game was released in like 2001, and you could carry up to 8 grenades per player. So you and a buddy could plant so many grenades under this thing and it would just go whee, like, super far. And I feel like, and then for Halo 2, they came up with swords that had like a lunge effect, and if a buddy went up high somewhere and then jumped down and lunged at you as he was falling, and you lunged at him as he was falling towards you, then you would get slingshotted like into orbit. Lots of silly physics things. So I think if we did live in a simulation, which we might, then the key would be figuring out like what you can exploit, basically.
Yeah, there'd just be a parkour revolution because everyone can stand on tiny ledges without fear.
Right?
Because you're not going anywhere. So everyone's just like clambering all over buildings and stuff.
There'd be all these like frictionless surfaces. There'd be these other things that you can like clip through if you hit them at the right angle.
Yeah, but also it depends what kind of game you're in. But obviously, like a slight incline, you might just be unable to walk up it. You've got to jump up the incline. You can't walk up it.
And some games won't let you jump. There are a few things more irritating than games with like low fences and things and no jumping ability. Or those gosh dang invisible walls. Like, no, we don't want you to go here. Sorry.
This is a bit of a tangent, but I think it was in Halo 3 or 4, me and my friend Liam discovered a glitch where... So you know the Banshees are like the alien flying aircraft.
Yes.
Which are normally like this. They're like, I don't know, the size of I don't know, like a car, sort of.
Yeah.
And they fly around. But we discovered this glitch where, for some reason, they were all driving into walls, just constantly driving into the walls. And we're like, oh, this is weird.
Nice.
And then I saw this tiny little blue dot. I was like, what is that? Because they like emit this glowing kind of vapor trail behind them. And I saw this tiny little blue dot, and it was a tiny banshee. It was about the size of I don't know, like a computer mouse. And I was like, oh my god, what is that? And so normally the way that you climb inside a banshee is you're sort of lying down on your front. Mm-hmm. It's a bit like those roller coasters where you're in the Superman position.
Do they have those?
Oh yeah. There's one at like Alton Towers or something. I think I almost fell out of one once. It was fun.
Okay.
But so you're in that position. So obviously when you try to get inside this tiny banshee, it looks like you're riding a broomstick.
Yes.
Because as you're like flying around, you're leaving this vapor trail behind you, but you're not in. There's no vehicle. You can't see anything, so you're just in this weird position. And never been able to replicate that glitch, but it was amazing.
That is delicious. That is, yes. The glitches are so good.
So yeah, just imagine like, my car is suddenly tiny. Oh well, and you get in it anyway. you're sitting there and just driving it as though the car is actually there.
It's true. If anything, it's the apparent lack of glitches that is probably our best argument that we're not in a computer simulation. But I'm reminded of other stuff like Red Dead Redemption. Are you familiar?
The zombie... No, is it zombies?
No,
it's just kind of Western.
Yeah, it is just Western. I don't know why it's called Red Dead Redemption. Anyway, I think there was a lot of fun stuff with the physics of like the horse being able to climb practically vertical surfaces. And also, every so often, like the mechanics of a character and the model used for that character would get swapped somehow. So I remember seeing a video where they discovered a donkey, which normally you can like tame and ride around and stuff, used as a beast of burden, but it had the model for an old lady. So she was just hobbling around, whatever. It wasn't that noticeable. But then you could like press X to ride, and then you just climbed onto her shoulders and just hobbled around with this old lady. And that was funny. But then what was even better was there was this one sequence where like these guys were... There's like a Mexican guy and like banditos have taken over this thing or whatever. You got to like follow him, and he's like, "Hey, hombres, come with me," sort of thing. You know, very stereotypical. And he's a coyote. Like it was a cutscene. I don't understand, or not necessarily a cutscene, but like it wasn't just a randomly spawned like donkey. It was like a guy in a sequence. Like he always says these things, always goes to this spot, waits for you to catch up, but he got swapped for the coyote. So you were just like, all right, doggy boy, let's go. Like, show me where the bad guys are.
So yeah, occasionally just people in your life will be swapped out with random animals, and you're just like, I guess this is fine.
Yeah, they still perform the same functions, like the limited ways in which I can interact with them. It's fine.
Yeah.
So
because that's a well, this would be a more sinister thing, but obviously non-player characters, NPCs, are a big thing in video games. So you'll have your core characters who are more well developed, but then there's like just random people who you might have a couple of conversations with, or not even talk to at all. They'll just say like one thing. So you get them in the real world, and then you'd have this weird thing. It's like, I know a lot of people who, when they play RPGs, I can never do it, but some people just like causing chaos. Like they just shoot everyone that they find. Like I'm like, oh, I've got to be nice to this random bit of computer code, otherwise he won't like me. But other people are just like, whatever, it's a video game. So people would have that in real life, which is kind of scary.
The scariest thing, I guess, is that some very few people actually have that in real life. But there'd be, I wonder, I guess, because you'd have it two ways, right? You'd either have like there's be a small, not like the 1% or whatever would be player characters, and then everyone else would just be drones. And it would always be really easy to tell whether someone had like something important to say to you, because instead of just being like press X to talk and then they say like one line, it would like launch a whole dialogue tree. Or they might even pop up on your map with like a little exclamation mark, like, this guy has a quest for me. So that'd be really convenient, like, is this meeting going to be useful? And then you like look through the glass partition and like nobody's got an exclamation mark over their head, and you're like, no, there's nothing there for me. It's fine. And they just have the meeting on loop without you, whether or not you're listening. Very convenient. Or we are all player characters to the important people in our lives, and we appear as NPCs to everyone else.
I'm going to move on to Assassin's Creed, if that's okay.
Oh, please.
Did you play much Assassin's Creed as a kid?
I think I played the second one exclusively. I really liked climbing around Florence and Venice. It was very cool.
Yes, that second one is probably the best, to be honest. But there's a lot of stuff which doesn't really make sense in it, which would be quite funny if we tried to apply it to our world. So, if this were true, bales of hay would simultaneously be soft enough to cushion your fall from 100 metres in the air, but also dense enough to prevent you from being smashed against some very solid planks of wood or stone.
Yes.
So, like, the fact that you just jump into bales of hay and it's fine is absolutely mad. So presumably you could repurpose hay into body armor, like the world's best bulletproof vest. So you've just got like loads of soldiers who look like scarecrows wandering around because, you know, the bullet enters and just immediately is cushioned completely before it can reach your body.
That's it. That's exactly the exploits I'm talking about. Yeah, that hay would become the most valuable substance on Earth. It's just like an infinite, infinite inertia? No, not even. But just like whatever velocity, it just reduces it to zero. It doesn't matter what hits it at what speed. Just nope, you stop now. You're in the hay.
But it's not elastic. It doesn't fire it back. It just absorbs everything.
Yeah, the bullet just hits you and stops, and it doesn't even deform the bullet. The energy just goes nowhere.
Yeah, maybe you've got to be really careful if you then burn that hay because it just causes a massive explosion as all the energy is released that it's been storing up.
Maybe, or like whatever insane mystical substance it's made of just gets diffused into the atmosphere, and then that's very dangerous. You know, you'd have planes dropping out the sky.
But another fascinating property of hay in this world is that you can phase through it. So in Assassin's Creed, there's often these bales of hay around in carts for no apparent reason. But when you jump into a bale of hay, if you tried to do that in real life, you don't just suddenly become inside the hay.
Oh, that's true.
You would be lying on the hay because it's not a liquid. So, but in this scenario, whenever you try to hide from someone and you'll like instantaneously be hidden, you just jump in and you're suddenly, you know, invisible to the naked eye.
Yeah.
And you don't leave any indentation. There's no trace of you having, you know, left an imprint of where you've jumped in, and then like you don't like scurry with your hands to like dig yourself in. You're just inside it. And you can see everything happening around you. So you've got this wonder material that that can be used for pretty much anything.
So basically, yeah, the hay from Assassin's Creed, whatever they're making the warthogs out of in Halo, you'd have these like incredible materials that would just like revolutionize everything. I'm sure there's objects that like there's tons of completely immovable objects, obviously. There's tons of indestructible stuff in games. And probably there's stuff that will always move no matter how much force you apply to it. I can't remember any in Assassin's Creed, to be fair, which is what we're talking about. I think I remember some in Halo, but I'm excited about the kind of like perpetual motion machines you can construct with these.
Yeah, and there's certainly, especially when combined with glitches, you can just get stuff which just rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, a couple more things with Assassin's Creed. Talking about becoming invisible. If you walk in the middle of a group of 6 people, you're just invisible. No one can see you.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're trying to hide from the police because you've just killed hundreds of people, just stand in a group of 6 people, waving fans about, and you'll be fine.
And you're the only guy dressed literally in an assassin's uniform.
Yeah, because they have a uniform, so everyone knows that you're an assassin.
So subtle, and you're in the Caribbean or the Mediterranean, or like typically somewhere super warm, unless it's like there's a Scandinavian one. I know there's so many, whatever. Even in the super warm, I mean, they started in the desert for gosh sakes, and he's wearing about 18 layers and a big old hood, and he's the only guy, but he's an assassin. Nobody sees him coming.
And also, you can just walk into the middle of someone's, like, there's a 6-way conversation going on, and, like, people carry on talking, and you're standing in the middle. No one's like, who the hell's this guy? Get out of here. They're just like, I'm just going to carry on talking to Jeff as though you're not here.
It's true. Oh my god, the social dynamics in games don't even... Actually, I want to talk about those when you're done with Assassin's Creed. I've just remembered a thing about Fate.
Fable, okay, no, Fate. You go.
Yeah, okay, you ever played Fable?
I haven't, actually, no.
Okay, so Fable was an RPG. I want to say like a similar kind of difficulty and intensity to Zelda, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was an Xbox exclusive instead of Nintendo. It doesn't matter. The point is, I played Fable 2, and fairly easygoing RPG. So there's less grinding, and they had a fairly easy instead of like having to grind up your like speech ability or like your reputation with a certain faction or whatever, what you had, very Sims like, was like a wheel of gestures and actions, and you could unlock certain, you know, like certain items when you did something or whatever. There was some complexity, but basically you choose from this like radial menu of actions, so you know, like high five or like hero pose or pull funny faces or whatever, and they would elicit reactions from whoever you were talking to. So sometimes it'd be like, okay, I need the specific person to like me because and that was the core of the whole romance mechanic. Like if you wanted a spouse, then you just had to flirt intensively with someone until they liked you enough to accept like an engagement ring, and then they were yours. But unfortunately, once you're like a hero of some renown, I think they start putting up statues to you. Like you can go either you become mad evil or mad good. If you're mad evil, people run at your approach. You start growing horns. It's a whole thing. I went for the good option because, like you, I'm paralyzed by a sense of unnecessary morality in video games.
Yeah.
And I wish I got the evil option because at least people get out of your damn way. And if you set fire to them, it doesn't ruin anything. If you become too good, this is a PSA for anybody looking to play an incredibly old video game called Fable 2. If you become too good, you perform a thoughtless gesture in the middle of a town square or wherever, and you are mobbed by people demanding autographs or whatever, and you can't move and you can't walk through them, and woe betide you if you get backed into an alley because there's just this throng and you can't jump over their heads or anything, and your only recourse is to start lobbing fireballs or hacking your way through them, and then suddenly they don't like you, and you're a bad guy, or why would you do this? And it's exhausting.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, the world of celebrity would get a lot more bloody, wouldn't it?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know how anybody leaves paparazzi alive, like as it stands. I don't know how it remains illegal to hunt them for sport.
Yeah, they are one of the few groups of people, along with probably investment bankers, where literally no one likes them.
Yeah, hedge fund managers. They're parasitic. I'm sorry. Like, there's just... No, if you're listening to this and your job is to basically be the guy who hangs around schools snapping pictures of kids, except you're doing
for
it,
celebrities,
yeah, and because they're famous, it's okay for some reason, because the money's good, so people will buy it. Then what are you doing with your life? Anyway, took a serious turn for a moment there. Let's get back to the silly old video games.
Skyrim.
Ah, yes.
Had to be talked about. Where to start? Like, no matter how much giant armor, no matter how many flaming swords you own, some random people dressed in rags and holding clubs will always think they can take you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, like, it would make the job of armies in the real world more difficult, because they're obviously, like, armed with insane equipment, but you just have, I don't know, just, like, random people would just be like, yeah, I could probably take them. Like, I don't know, would it? I don't know how effective that would be. Like, maybe it would just make invading somewhere really hard, because literally the entire population is just like, yeah, we can take you, whatever. And so you just got to fight your way through hordes of people, rather than, like, people actually having some sense of self-preservation.
It's true that there tends to be a lot more aggression in games, yeah. There's a lot more propensity for, like, you perform one aggressive act, and then suddenly you get dogpiled by, like, every inhabitant of the town.
Yeah, and it's like, if you in a video game, if you kill 8 people out of the 10 that are attacking you, the last 2 guys are not like, maybe we should call it quits and run away.
They're not.
They're like, we're in this till the end, even though you haven't taken a bit of damage.
It's true, and there's all these games where, like, you're like this, this mobile mincing machine of blades and things, but still the enemy ninjas come at you, like, one at a time until you go into the next room, and then the guy who's been listening to you eviscerating all his pals is like, oh, it's my turn now, guess I better jump in.
But yeah, I guess just this world, there would be no sense of self-preservation. It would just be, and every violent action has to be met with aggression. Yeah, you can't run away. That's not an option. It's just like, right, fight mode engage. Off we go. It's
true. You're either an innocent civilian, in which case you run, or quite often just cower helplessly. And if you're in Cyberpunk 2077, then if you will disappear if the player character just spins around 360 degrees. Anyway, that's your job. Or you're an important NPC, and your job is just to die horribly because all you know how to do is kamikaze rush.
And similarly with the aggression thing, like, all wild animals would just hate you, like,
Oh yeah.
and will attack you whenever possible. It's like, I'm just wandering through this beautiful forest. Oh, look, a bear, and it's attacking me instantly.
Yeah.
That's not how bears work. Bears don't just... Obviously, some people are attacked by bears, but it's not usually just because they're wandering past.
Like, they see you, and then it's time.
Yeah, and, like, packs of wolves don't generally attack people. Like, that's very rare.
Individual wolves, for God's sake, like foxes.
Yeah. Like...
Raccoons. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. What do you got?
Yeah, like a particularly angry deer attacks you. I don't know. Like, just everything is just like, we really hate you.
It's true. They usually fall, like, very simplistically into, like, animals that will leave you alone, animals that will run away, and animals that will get you. And that's the same in real life, but the dials have just been twiddled so that aggression is a way more likely outcome.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. I guess there aren't as many because we've killed off all our large animals, our large wild animals in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, if you were to take a walk through the US, like through a forest, you would not make it out. You'd go for a 2-mile hike and you'd just die because all the animals would attack. Like, the moose would kill you, the bears would kill you, the wolves would kill you.
Mountain lions, squirrels.
Probably, like, yeah, just
terrible.
Absolutely hordes of them.
Yeah. Tell you what, though, as if you can find enough pine cones and squirrels and berries and whatever to eat raw, you might be able
you'll
to make
be fine.
it.
Yeah, as long as you eat, as long as after you've killed the bear, you eat it raw, you're fine.
But tell you what's really frustrating, you kill an entire bear and you get a single tooth and a small piece of pelt. And you don't always get the pelt.
I just assume that they are really bad at skinning animals.
Just
like,
terrible, right?
They did not do a butchery course, and they are really bad at it. So, like, all that they've got left with is like some tattered felt, like, fur and like one remaining eye. That's it.
That actually makes sense because, to be fair, if you look at the World of Warcraft aesthetic in particular, which I dig, I play a lot of Hearthstone, and I like the way the characters everything's got like this chunkiness to it, you know. Like one of those spell books, like the leather covers on that, the little brass clasps on the corners, they're like an inch thick. Like, it's insane, but it looks cool. But then also you're like, let's think about the practicality of this. Not only are your pauldrons the size of like the average person's chest cavity, but also like that sword you're swinging around is about 6 inches thick and like 8 feet long. There is no way, like, they're, like, carving, whatever butchers use, like, hunting knives, whatever, to skin them, you know, that is going to be, this like, twice the size of a machete and 4 times as thick. Of course they're not doing a good job of butchering this stuff. These guys have never seen, like, a finesse tool, like, in their lives.
Yeah, well, literally, there's no skill for butchery, so just deal with it. You're just going to be rubbish at it forever.
That's true. Yeah, there's no way to grind that stat.
Yeah. Kind of talking about... the opposite of, you know, you being incredibly, like, armoured up and all these weapons and stuff. The opposite of that is that you can also wander around basically naked and no one cares.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of whether it's snowing or not, which it often is in Skyrim, it's a very cold place.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just wander around in what is essentially like a loincloth, and everyone's just like, hey, how's it going? One person might be like, huh, you look a bit cold. but like, and you don't lose health, you're just wandering about and you're fine.
Yeah, it's true. Not many games take temperature into account, actually. And as for public nudity, Cyberpunk 2077 famously lets you modify your own genitalia in character creation.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and in fact, there was some brouhaha at the beginning because I think they did fix it, I believe, but like there was some unnecessary like gender locking. I think it was like you could only have some hairstyles with some genitalia. Like if you'd made the one feminine, you had to like, I can't remember what they did, but it was just like, people were like, why though? Anyway, whatever. They let you look how you want naked, more or less. And I was like, does that mean that you can go around naked and it's just fine? Like you wouldn't want to stats wise because you wouldn't have any armor, but like I'm curious about it. So I leave my apartment fully nude, some quite cool tattoos, and instantly the police are shooting me. And everyone is terrified. All the civilians just like crouched, petrified. God. It's like a hostage situation. I'm like, nope. Step back inside the apartment, shut the door, put some clothes on, left the apartment. They still hated me. Big problems. Reloaded the save, and I think it was just a weird glitch.
Oh, okay.
So actually, nudity's fine. It was just like that first time, it was too much. But once they get
That'd be
used
awful
to
if
you,
you're just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out naked today. And rather than the police coming up to you and being like, excuse me,
Could you
need to
not?
put some clothes on. This isn't good. And maybe giving you a caution. They just start shooting you. It's like no warning, just like, oh my god, we're going to do this on the run.
Well, one of the things that bothers me about a lot of games, I mean shooters in particular, aptly named, is that you typically only have like a couple of ways to interact with the world. And most of them involve shooting or like maybe the melee button. You know, and then, okay, you get your contextual, like, open the door, press B to ride the motorbike, whatever. But, like, for everything else, you either, like, walk on it, jump on it, hit it, or shoot it, and that's it. And sometimes you get games that make you feel bad, that, like, you're so violent, and it's, like, you programmed it this way. What am I supposed to do? I basically spawned with a gun attached to my hands, and all I can do is fire it. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, it's like, going back to Halo, the grunts in that are like these kind of cute little aliens who do shoot you, but they're pretty pants. They can't do much.
It's
and
true.
you're like a god, you can just mow them down, basically.
Yeah.
But often they'll run away and cower, and I'm just like, I don't want to kill the grunts, they're so nice. Like, I have to, because if I leave them, they'll shoot me in the back. But, like, you'll run up to them and they'll just be hiding. I'm like, I just want to give you a hug, grunt. Can I hug as an option? Or at least tie them up so they're not going to, they're not going to get hurt.
Yeah, there's no incapacitate option. And in some games where there is, I keep ragging on Cyberpunk 2077, it's a mess of glitches, everyone knows. But I'm really enjoying the fact that when I kill people, like with bullets and grenades, their bodies just keep like twitching around on the ground.
Ooh.
Not even like kind of like clipping through the ground and vibrating, not like glitchy, but you know what I mean? They're like, oh my head, they're like rubbing, they're like, oh that really hurts sort of thing. But they're dead. And when I like choke someone out, when I press like B or whatever instead of X, they're dead. Like, you hear the neck snap and then just crumble and they don't move. It's got it all backwards.
Oh. So wait, if you shoot people, then they're like, 'tis but a flesh wound. But if you choke someone out, then they just die. That's
been my experience, yeah. And it echoes how actually, in the Batman Arkham Knight series, which I love to bits, Batman never kills, right? It's his rule.
Yeah.
And you can, in your bat vision, you get like x-ray vision of the enemies and it tells you their status, and anyone that you have quote unquote killed is always unconscious.
Yeah.
But some of those guys, like, you hit them with a tank, Like, most of the time, they, you punch them really hard, and it's like, I'm prepared to believe, like, with a gauntlet that armored, and, like, the amount of force I've seen this guy apply to bones, like, I don't think you're okay, buddy. Like, that is a concussion at minimum, like, very likely brain damage, but okay, he's not dead. But sometimes, like, someone will get stuck between, like, a bollard and your Batmobile or whatever, and it's not pretty, but they're always unconscious.
Batman's like, activate delusion vision. It's just like, everybody's fine, nothing's bad happening here, it's all good.
I think that's what's up. Yeah, like, he had the HUD, like he got so distressed the first time that Lucius Fox or whoever, like, quietly just edited the software on his Batvision, and he's much happier ever since, much better at his job, focused.
Yep, still detecting a pulse, and this guy's got his head, like, cut off.
Yeah, it's like, that's fine.
He'll wake up in a minute, it's okay.
The day is saved. You're welcome, citizens.
So just final couple of points on Skyrim, which can apply to a lot of things with, like, RPGs. Like, there's chests of money and items literally everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
top of a mountain.
You just wander around, and there's random just containers where you wouldn't expect a container, and which mysteriously no one else has ever looked in before.
Yeah.
Or if they haven't taken the really valuable items. Like, I'm just going to leave this money in here. And, like, people have come and had a look and, like, I'll leave that. I don't want that.
Yeah, nah, gems. Yeah, but
it's unlocked.
Everywhere. It's true.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. Like, sometimes in people's, not in people's houses, but in their towns, there'll be chests. It's like, there's a town full of people and no one's looked in this chest. There's like, literally dozens of thieves in the prison. but no one actually thought to get the free money out of this chest.
It's true. Yeah, there's a lot of like as a broad thing. There's a lot of indicators that the world is built. Simply like things like the panoply of human diseases and conditions are reduced to a health bar, and B, like for your convenience as a player. You can just walk into anyone's house, you find all this stuff lying around. Very different to real life. It's unless you're just a really good like housebreaker, in which case that's your real life. Enjoy.
One of the strangest things, if this was real, though, would be, you're asleep in bed and just having a nice little dream. You're asleep on top of your covers because they never go under the covers.
Oh yeah.
And you wake up and you look up and there's a man standing there, just like in the dark, and he says, "Can I see your selection of produce?" You go, "Oh, certainly, sir."
You just roll out of bed and absolutely. You don't even have to go like open up your market stall or whatever, because guess what? It's all in your inventory. It's all just there. Like you've been sleeping with an invisible sack full of cabbages at all times.
I've been waiting for just this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also the fact that you can't speak to them from bed. You have to stand up. In order to actually speak to them.
Well, you're not an animal. I mean, like, you got to observe the niceties. Sure, you're in your bedroom and you don't know who this stranger is that arrived unannounced in your home in the middle of the night, but...
in his demonic armour, yeah.
But he wants cabbages, and cabbages are what you sell, so this is great, actually.
Are you the guy that ate all that cheese? Amazing.
Can I get a selfie? Yeah. I think... the thing is, I'm trying to remember now where the Skyrim do the thing where merchants will run out of stuff.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, because some games will like have merchants with infinite stuff, and some games they'll run out, and sometimes they'll run out of money to buy your stuff off you, and you have to like carefully manage these like human like safety deposit boxes, essentially, right?
Yeah, because also I guess there's also the games where, they're let's say they're like a fabric salesman. They sell you different kind of fabrics to be tailored and stuff. Mm-hmm. But you can sell them £800 worth of cheese or like £800 worth of just any like bits of like metal that you found on the floor, like this weird like rivet or something. Like, hey, I'm going to offload like 15 kilograms of this onto you. You're welcome.
I don't know why that is so funny.
But they just always buy it, and they're like, happy to do business with you, sir.
It's true. Oh my god. Yeah, sometimes at like really bad exchange rates, it's true. But just the image of walking into a haberdashery with like, just a small belt pouch or satchel or whatever. And they're just like, "You buying or selling?" And they're like, "Selling today." And you just pull out a wheel of cheese. And they're like, "Here you go." You pull out another one. Here you go. Here you go. And you just keep going. Yeah. Because carrying capacity would be so convenient.
Yeah, and because also, obviously, you don't even need to buy anything in return. So, most shops in the real world, you don't turn up with like, what kind of shop could you turn up to? I don't know, like, you don't turn up to a clothes shop and go, "Here's all my old clothes, how much will you give me for them?" And they go, "Here you go, here's some money." And you go, "Thanks very much, bye." And then you're off.
I guess... Yeah, everywhere's a pawn shop, I guess is the logic.
Yeah.
But like for foodstuffs, which luckily rarely spoil, only in survival games. So yeah, that cheese is going to last.
Yeah.
Oh god, that would be so good though. Like I'm so angry that you can't do that. And often as not, like there will be free stuff just lying around in random pots, like in people's houses that is as good as the stuff being sold in the shops. It'd be so much easier to make a living.
And also, just the fact that, like, in Skyrim, if an item is showing as white, it means you can just take it, and it doesn't belong to anyone. But if it's red, it's stealing. And just to be able to quickly see, like, is this item does it belong to someone, or is it stealing? Like, if you saw a bike on the side of the road, which wasn't locked up,
right? Like, is it abandoned?
Right,
can I have it?
You can immediately tell if it's been abandoned, or if someone's just accidentally left it unlocked there, so you'd know whether or not it was stealing to take it. Because, like, before, I've left a bike unlocked somewhere because I didn't want the bike anymore, and someone took it, and I'm like, great, I don't need to get rid of that bike anymore.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yes, that'd be so convenient. So many social circumstances as well, like, I don't know these people that well, this is a really nice tea party, the cake's amazing, like, can I take the last slice? Or does someone else want it? I don't want to get into that awkward, you know what I mean? You just look at it, and it's just, it says take in white, and you're like, yes, I can have it.
Yeah, you've been eating the cake all evening, and it's fine, it's white, but then it gets to the last piece and it's in red, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay.
Who has got this piece in there, who's taking it as their own?
Well, and then you scan around, and like anyone who doesn't just like anyone who has a dialogue tree, it's probably them. They're important. You'd have access to a lot more information. You'd have a HUD that told you like your current health, like maybe you'd know your sim bars, like, we have a bit of that in real life, like how tired do I feel, whatever, but it's like it's not nearly as detailed, and you wouldn't know like the rarity of an item the minute you pick it up in one of these random chests, like how much it's worth. Super valuable.
I guess another thing is that you'd know exactly what your skill set is. Like, often people don't know what they're good at, or like they either think they're worse at something than they are, or they think they're a lot better at something than they are.
Right.
This would be a perfect way to just be like, everyone knows exactly how good you are at something, and there's no point trying to cheat me, Larry. We all know that you're absolutely rubbish at crocheting, so don't tell me you can make that scarf, because we know you can't.
Yeah, you're level 7 body and scarves unlock at level 12, so don't even...
That was the Hypotheticals podcast. Adriano, where can people find us online?
We're all over the place, Andy.
Oh, we're everywhere.
That's right. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search for Hypotheticals. That is Hypotheticals, the weird way we spell it, but without the R.
Yes, and if you would like to leave us a rating on a podcast app of your choice, be that Acast, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever they may be, may take some digging, but if you could leave us a 5-star rating, it would mean that we would get more than at least 5 listeners.
We would love you so, so much. And please, why not tell a friend who might enjoy listening to our dulcet tones. And we will see you next time.
Bye! Oh, we're not getting a lot of outtakes recently because we're
getting too good, too sleek,
I know,
too professional.
Although, actually, what was it that you said? That was the bit where you said I burped in the middle.
I did. God damn it! Keep giving you all this
can still I want it.